I'm ready to go.
All right, cool, bro. Well, I've already got it going because I was like,
Lit.
I think it would be better to just start it early so then it doesn't have to enter that awkward second of, oh, I'm about to start it. I'm about to start
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I feel
And
you.
then you go,
I feel you.
uh,
Yeah, no more awkward introductions or
no,
extras
never
starting now.
again. I actually won't even need to edit this. We're going to be
Exactly. No.
so well enunciated. We're not going to say, we're not going to say, 30,000 times. It's
We're
going to be great.
manifesting it. Not going to happen. Going to be a fluent English speaker on this episode.
Yes. Yes. Very excited about that. Um, oh, there's one. There's the counter. I'm already at one on the counter. Let's address our fans. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. To those who didn't watch the first episode, welcome. To those who did watch the first episode, welcome back. My name's Evan. My buddy here is Rocco. We are both singers and we love to talk about opera. So if you want to hear us talk about that and the Met and be slightly insufferable in terms of our opinions about singing, you've come to the right place.
Yes. If you are neurotic about singing like we are, we're your boys.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
and
we are.
as always, feel free, please, uh, throw us a like, a sub, hit us with a
Yes.
little comment with any questions that you have for us because Q&A episodes are coming up very quickly. But
Yes. Yes.
all in all, welcome to episode 2 of Podliacci.
How you doing, Rocco?
I'm doing good. I'm busy as hell outside of work, trying to balance opera.
You know the meme of the tiger cooking about grind
Yeah.
set? That's actually you right now. I can't believe you're doing that on top of the job and
Yes,
lessons.
I'm that exactly. I'm that video of Benson from Regular Show where like he gets one moment of sleep and then gets right back up to start the grind. That is currently me, but I'm alive. I had a voice lesson today actually, so I was able to take an hour to myself to focus on
Good.
personal development, you know. So glad to have done that, but things are going well. How about you, Evan?
Dude, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Been watching a lot of Yankees and I'm still looking for a job, so I'm currently
Well,
in possession of way too much time. Like way too much time. I'm getting to the point where I'm actually starting to get excited about doing not fun things.
yes, yes. I was in that boat when I first moved to New York, where like I was so overwhelmingly unemployed that like 2, 3 weeks out from my job, I was like, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I want nothing more than to do work. Like,
Yeah.
all in
No.
all, things are good. And yes, we can edit this back in, but I am also watching a lot of Yankees these days. Um, you know, live and die with every pitch, as usual, and not sure what to make of this team, but just like my opinions toward the operating industry going forward, I can't help but be hopeful for the 2024 Yankees. Can't help but be.
The Met Opera, the Yankees front office. They're the ones in charge of the administration of these two things we love, and we are getting quite heated at both of them.
Yeah, I genuinely can't help but think that maybe George Steinbrenner and Peter Gelb know each other. Maybe
They're related. I
maybe
knew it.
yeah, they're related, or they run into each other at the Racket Club on Roosevelt Island, where Peter Gelb plays
Pickleball.
tennis, by the way. Um, but yeah, both of them are in charge of something that I hold so near and dear. But I have lots and lots of questions about the way that they're operating their respective treasures. And that brings me to, I guess, the first thing that I kind of wanted to discuss on this episode of the podcast, which is the Met, a while ago now, I guess, announced its 2024-2025 season.
Yes, they did.
I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to be helping them bring in the new season on September 28th at a performance of Tosca. I'll be there in the audience,
Is that
obviously.
opening? This time you'll
I
be in
don't,
the audience.
yeah, this time. I don't think it's the official opening, but it's within the opening month, so I'll count it.
Yeah.
But I was reading some articles, one of which caught my attention about the fact that this year uh, the Met is tied for the fewest number of productions that they are putting on in a full season since the new Met opened in 1967.
Tied. Okay.
I think it's 13 productions. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, audience, Evan, feel free to disagree. But of the 13 that they're putting on, maybe 5 or 6 of them are productions that I would view as worth going to see. We're talking about classics, Tosca, Rigoletto, those kind of things. The majority are contemporary
Just the
works.
work. You're talking about, not the casting when you say
Not the
that?
casting. Yeah,
We're
not the
just
casting whatsoever.
as a piece of art. Okay.
And I'm, I guess, probably a little bit more, not averse, but I enjoy the contemporary works a little bit less than I'd say the average opera listener does. So that's a little bit of personal bias there. But the macro point is what's going on? What is going on? At the Met, 13 productions seems like things must be pretty slim at the Met, and it kind of calls into question like where do we go from here? Is this an indicator of rock bottom? And what can we do about it? Like, so I'm very interested to hear your perspective on this whole debacle.
Yeah. I have too many things to say. I'm trying to think of the first thing to start with. I'll say I was looking through the casts and looking through the productions and trying to get myself excited, and this week, right, looking through them.
Cool.
Now that you say and share that article that it's tied for the least number of overall productions in a season
Yeah.
since the new house, so like since 1960s.
Okay, I've got the facts now on the case.
Okay, so you've got the article. Rocco's got the article, and please go ahead.
Got the article. So the real facts, because we present facts here.
Yes.
18 productions. It's the fewest since 1980. So,
Okay.
wrong decade, but close to the 60s, 60s, 80s. 18 productions, and um, Peter Gelb withdrew $40 million from the endowment to cover the cost of this season's production. So the endowment is down to $250 million, which, I mean, sounds like a lot of money. Opera is expensive, and it's very specifically expensive at the Metropolitan Opera. So to me, it just screams that something is wrong, something very wrong, and we're maybe not at imminent risk of losing a New York City institution, but it is a privately funded opera house, and it makes me wonder what is causing this. What is causing this, and what can we do? Like I said, very interested to hear your perspective.
First thing I'm gonna say, aside from I did notice it took a lot less time for me to scroll down the list on my computer than it did last year. The first thing I will say is I can't remember what production it was I was at, but I was looking through the playbill. And I noticed, oh, that's interesting. Rolex sponsors these productions. Oh, I didn't know like the productions had sponsors. And then I remember seeing, oh, this one is sponsored by Rolex too. Does that mean, wow, they do multiple? And then a lot of productions were sponsored and put on that stage. by Rolex.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Yeah.
I think I I'm not sure if there are any sponsored ones this year, but I several at least, if not more. I feel like
Yeah.
it could be more. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I'm probably completely wrong, but maybe part of the issue is they're not going to get that sponsor money.
Yeah. Which would be kind of crazy because every time I go to the Met, you see who their sponsors are, who their contributors are, and it's among some of the you know richest and most well known companies in the world. Rolex, Cartier, whoever, it's kind of these very high class, very niche, very like top 1% clicky type companies are funding them. And so, like you said, maybe they lost some of that sponsorship. I think it also kind of points to a potentially larger issue at stake for the Met Opera, which is, to me, if you want to increase ticket sales and if you want to increase exposure to the art of opera, which the first is necessary for the latter, right? You have to make it more accessible. You can't make it so that people are scared away, feeling like, I'm not a member of the type of people. I'm not a member of the target audience. I'm not rich enough. I'm not fancy enough.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. So I'm not going to come to the Met. I think that's worth considering.
You're bringing me to another point I wanted to make, which was a few months ago, I was doing some research on Peter Gelb, for better or for worse, and I was listening to some. I think it was an interview of him. Maybe it was one of the uh, HD presentations that they put in
Yeah,
theaters, and he was talking about the Met Live HD that they show in the theaters, and reason why he does it is he wants to make opera more accessible.
sure.
And there are a couple ways you can go with this. One, objectively, that is making opera more accessible because, if you live in Idaho, what are you going to take a ticket, a plane all the way to New York, drop everything you're doing, and spend all that money to get the plane ticket, housing, hotel, transportation, food, and then you got to pay for your ticket for you and whoever's going with you? That's a lot of money. So having things like the Met HD on demand, streaming, whatever you want to call it, objectively, I think is good.
Yep,
And
agreed.
that's presenting this art form to people who may never even go to the Met Opera or New York their entire life.
Right.
My little, I don't want to call it an issue, but on the other hand, it's a live art form. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's still so enjoyable when you listen to recordings. I've gone to one or two. One, I think once I went. It was the Lucia one with um, Nadine and Javier, and it was supposed to be Matthew Rose singing the bass, but he got injured or sick or something, so
Mm-hmm.
CVH filled in, and it was what's it, Artur? I'm blanking on his last name, but that cast, and
Sure.
it was still really enjoyable. I This might be a strange take, but it's a little too, the audio I think is a little too fixed. It sounds a little
Yeah,
too
it is.
in the studio, and I'm not saying like, oh, they're buffing up his volume. I'm not saying, oh, they're fixing this note, they're editing. No. What I'm saying is the way they master and produce that audio sounds like those studio recordings of operas that, to me, don't do as much as the live things. I mean, what the kind of things they were doing before this and before streaming was the Met tour.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't know the dates on that, but that I'm sure hasn't been done in a very long time.
Right.
So I do like, it's it's a good opportunity, and it's nice to be able to, for a much cheaper price than spending 100, 150, 200 per ticket to get the live thing. You can spend, how much is a movie ticket, right?
Yeah.
And you go to your
$15.
movie
Yeah.
theater right by you and walk in, you know, there you don't have to buy them like ahead of time, worry about that. That's really nice. However, I'm not saying bring back the Met tour, but it leaves me wanting more. It really leaves me wanting more because it completely it misses the live aspects for me. And
Yeah.
I to me, I really enjoy the magic of, there's no mics, there's no amplification. It's you and the orchestra in a live space. It's a feeling that I don't even know if you can necessarily capture that in a recording.
Right.
That's what I think.
Totally agree. And, you know, like you said, I think, right, it's great that the Met is dedicated to trying to increase access, right? Increase accessibility to the art form via these, HD broadcasts and movie theaters, whatever, whatever. But to me, that's just a sufficient condition for piquing people's interest in opera, right? The necessary condition is the hook, essentially, is the live aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
It's the live. It's 100% the live aspect because as it is today, nobody is going to. Maybe not nobody, but I would predict that few people are going to see a Met Opera production on the sign for their movie theater and be like, oh, you know what, that would be interesting to go see. Maybe a few, but you know, people can pull up Spotify or Apple Music and listen to opera whenever, right? Like, so to me, the public outreach has to be more. And I'm not an expert on what the public outreach is for the Met Opera, but I live in New York City and I never hear about, performers going out into like Bryant Park or like doing like little impromptu pop-ups throughout the city. It's like that brings the live aspect. That essentially forces for free somebody to be observant to be participant in,
Yeah, it's a good
like
point.
it forces them to be participant in the live and visceral aspect of the art form. So to me, I mean, yeah, you're going to take nothing but pure loss there in the instant by hiring, four singers to go out into, Central Park with a stand-up piano and sing the Rigoletto Quartet. But that will bring people into the doors of the Met Opera, right? And let's face it, the brick and mortar building, that's your primary market. It is your primary market. And I get the desire to try and expand. And that's where the Met Tour comes in. Like you said, I would love to see the Met Tour come
I
back,
would lose my
right? Like,
mind. I would lose my mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
there are recordings of Pirelli touring in Cleveland and Philadelphia with the Met Opera. And it's like, why don't we bring that back? And I understand a lot of cities have their own opera companies, so maybe it's less than them, but they had them then as well. The most premier singers are going to be at the Met. The names that people have any hope of
Right,
recognizing are going
that's
to
the
be in
draw. It's the
Philadelphia.
stars. They're stars. Like the
Exactly.
Yankees, they get stars.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Because
and
Steinbrenner
the
understood.
Yeah, exactly. So in the off season, between the end of May and the beginning of September, when there's a ridiculous summer stage set up in Lincoln Center, why don't you go and tour? Right? Like maybe it's part of their collective bargaining agreement with the orchestra. Like they can't play between May and September. Again, I don't
Yeah, I don't
know.
know.
But it leaves me wondering about these things. And yeah, the public outreach. You live in a city, you operate in a city of 8 million people. You're begging to introduce them to the draw of opera, which is how it makes you feel from hearing it live and the disbelief. So why that's not happening very often, a little bit puzzling to me. But in the comments, feel free to enlighten us if these activities are going on and we just don't know about them, or if they're
I
effects that we don't know about. Please correct us in the comments. This is how I feel about it, given what I know.
I do know, I've noticed that the Met singers who sing at the Met practically the entire season will then go sing internationally
Right.
during the summer. But it's just funny the way you put it. There is a giant stage right there and a giant Lincoln Square that's right there for the entire time during the
Yeah.
summer. They
Yeah.
obviously start getting you excited for the season opening back up in September with the you watch in the park or whatever. What are they doing? They show the Met HD, or is it you go to
Yes,
Lincoln
in Bryant
Center
Park.
and you
Yeah.
can, yeah, you can watch, and that's a great
Something
way
like
to
that.
get
Yeah.
hype going.
Yeah.
It's a live art form,
It is a
man,
live
and
art form.
I
Yeah.
I it feels a little silly that you're showing the people who live in New York videos of
Yeah.
singers at the Met singing when you all could take the subway and end up at the Met and see
Yeah.
those singers in person for real. And it's a live art form. So that's what Broadway doesn't do. Oh, we're going to show you a recording of Hadestown from 7 months ago. And you're all going to
Yeah.
sit down and I don't want to sound like a hater. I think that would be my ask, Mr. Gelb. I like the idea of more accessibility. It's a live art form. I
Yeah.
think obviously having a tour would be a huge logistical, financial jump. And I
Yeah.
understand you can't make things like that happen, and there'd have to be, I'm sure, like Rocco's saying, contracts and all that, but it doesn't have to be what it was. It can be a new version of the Met Tour or
Yeah.
something like that. I think would be a great idea.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Uh, I guess we'll see. We shall see. Um, and yeah, I mean, maybe one last point on the issue. To me, looking at the list of productions they're putting on this year, and
Oh, I'm glad you brought that back up. Go
yeah,
on, go on.
maybe this is like a very narrow-minded take of me, or like a very misguided instinct, but I feel like people are not as attracted to the general public is not as attracted to the new productions as opposed to the classics, and the money making productions, like for example, in the circles that we run in, like of course you want to go and see the hours, right? Because it's considered like an intellectual piece of music. But if you sit a person who has, no aesthetic or pedagogic teaching in the opera soundscape or in the classical music soundscape for that matter, I I don't think that they're going to stay past intermission. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the music doesn't conform to like what I would consider to be the typical temperament of somebody's musically aesthetic palette. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say that new productions are void of any meaning or purpose, right? Like obviously, things like Dead Man Walking and Champion, right? These are extremely important operas in our day.
Yeah, and impactful.
Yes, extremely impactful and important. And I think, like Champion, that is a production that should be put on, right? Like that will bring the general public into the opera because you're talking about issues. You're making a commentary on issues and people that are very poignant in our society. So obviously, people are going to be attracted to go see that. But I think the balance, if you want to put butts in seats, if that's the mission, which I think it should be a large part of the mission. If that's the mission, you got to balance some more money makers in there because this season does not have the money makers. It just doesn't have the money makers like it usually does. So, yeah, that's sort of where I fall on what those 18 productions are looking like this year. In terms of cast, I haven't really gotten a chance to look in depth. I know they're bringing back Songjak Bake as
Pinkerton.
Cavaradossi.
No. Oh, Cavaradossi, that's right.
Yes,
That's right.
That's why I'm going. That's genuinely why I'm going on the 28th. So,
yeah.
And, we saw Gregorian as Liu last year. So, honestly, I'm glad that they're bringing some of these emerging artists into the mat because they have fantastic voices. And that gives me a glimmer of hope in terms of, the kind of casting decisions that are being made there. But we'd have to do a more detailed look at what some of these cast lists look like to make a more informed opinion on the overall direction of casting at the mat. Feels like sometimes we're playing.
It's. I think. We can sit that one down for now, and maybe next episode that'll be a whole lecture that we do.
Exactly.
That's gonna be a good task. Have you heard Lisa Davidson yet in person?
I have not. I was supposed to see her in La Forza del Destino, which I really wanted to go see. It's one of my favorite operas. But they were only running it for like 5 weeks. And I was just like in and out of town during those 5 weeks. Could not make it. Really want to hear her. Honestly, like some of the promotion materials that I saw the Met put on Instagram with her in rehearsal, like sounds like a voice that I want to witness in person for sure.
Ginormous instrument.
It sounds huge.
Yeah. When I tell you, I got to hear her live in Ariadne, which I want to revisit that piece. That was such a nuanced. Yeah, I genuinely need to see it again because it was one of those things, when you see a complicated film and you watch it and you're like, that was really good. I kind of don't understand why it was so good though, because it was, I guess, intellectual, maybe is what I'm trying to say. That's what that piece felt like. Anyway, when Lisa Davidson came out in the first act, she's house left stage right, and she keeps, obviously she starts singing, but her character's in an argument or something with somebody more center stage or whatever, and she's doing the stay with me. She's doing the non-good thing to do as a singer.
Yeah.
Moving to, you always want to sing out, right? There was a rehearsal my sophomore year of college. I just got torn one because I was supposed to do a duet, and I kept doing that because you're supposed to, you look at the person you're talking to, right? But nope, not this art form. She's turning to her side. It doesn't matter. Dude, you can still hear her. Wow. It doesn't matter.
Wow.
she like same volume wherever she was singing. I was like, how is she just able to sing into the wings and I can hear everything still?
That is crazy.
That
Yeah,
is,
that is crazy.
yeah, there was, Ava always brings this up. There was this one moment in the aria that she has, I think, in Act Two. There's a high B, high H, whatever note, and it's fortissimo, and the trumpets, the horns are absolutely blaring loud, and it didn't matter.
Yeah,
It was just so wild to hear a voice that could enter that dimension, formant, whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
It was really impressive, and I that was the first time I think I really heard that.
yeah,
Where it's just the sheer power of her voice was that much that it just blew everything else out. I mean, that's why you go these things live, because you don't
yeah.
get that anywhere.
Exactly.
Anyway, I'm not going to rehash
So
that.
true. So true. Yeah, I'm excited to hopefully. Is she Tosca?
Yes.
Oh, let's go. Okay,
Yeah, so you
this is
get
going to be
to
a good because
that's going to be
Cabradossi is he's also a titan, in terms of vocal size. So
Victoria.
yeah, I cannot. I'm
Oh,
excited.
that's
Like I
oh,
can't help but
yo,
be excited.
you were gonna
Cannot help.
ascend
Yeah,
to Nirvana when you hear our man sing that.
yeah. Oh my god, I genuinely can't
Oh,
wait.
he's gonna actually sing his pants off in that, dude.
Yeah,
He's gonna the
it's
Lucevana
gonna be epic.
Stelle
Yeah,
is gonna
yeah.
be. I think that's such an underrated aria, by the way.
My body is so ready to give a standing ovation. It's so ready. I'm chomping at the bit to give a standing ovation.
Yeah, you
Chomping
already.
at the bit.
We might as well start now. Start sanding now,
Yeah,
you know. 'Cause
exactly, exactly. But yeah, Eluce on the Stelle, Recondita Armonia, the Act 3 love duet. It's gonna go crazy. It's such a good opera. Um,
it's gas. It's gas. That Act
it's
2, I listened to that Act 2 so much.
yeah. Act 2 is amazing. I mean,
The whole
Puccini was
thing
he
is
was losing his
fantastic, yeah.
bag. Yeah, it's amazing opera. Speaking of operas that we like, we want to go a little off course and maybe do the listen of the week in this segment potentially. Since while we're on the topic,
Let's do it. Let's do it, man. Who went
I want
first
to hear.
last time? Did you go first? Did I go first?
That's a great question. Um,
I don't have a
I think I went
coin.
first.
Oh, you
I
went
think I
first?
went
Okay.
first.
Okay. I'll go first then. It's going to come back later because I got sent back into this listen of the week obsession with this
Yes.
piece specifically because I saw my local opera company's local as in where I grew up, not as in Boston where I live now. My home opera company's production of Susanna. It sent me fully back into the obsession that is the revival scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean I just gotta talk about how that I think that's one of the best operas ever.
Really,
American,
I know
Italian,
nothing about it. I know nothing
dude,
about it.
it's one of those things where it's a really impactful and important story, and it's super heavy. I mean, it's like uh it's tough. It's tough. It's a really heavy piece, but I think it's an important story because that's some people's lived experiences that happen in that story in terms of the social isolation that Susanna features because of the gossip of the town, and
Mm-hmm.
perhaps probably my favorite scene in that piece is the revival scene, and there's only one recording that you can listen
Mm-hmm.
to of it because it's the best thing ever, and it is Sam Raimi singing the revival scene with a massive chorus at it's an Italian arias concert, and he just sang that The conductor let him, which of course he let him, because if you've seen that
Yeah.
recording, this might be my time to really like talk about Sam Raimi while I have it.
Yeah.
He's probably the sole reason why I got into singing.
Yeah.
Why? Because one, we already went over I thought I was a bass, and
Right.
that was my whole high school and like getting into opera. Once I started listening after doing the operas that summer, my teacher had me listen to him, and I just loved the way he performed. I loved the way he sang. He never gave less than 100%, and I always found it so energized, like riveting, like
Yeah.
always so engaging. And that, I mean, I grew out my hair to like look like his hair. I was like,
Please.
dude, maybe if I look like Sam Raimi, I'll be that good at singing too. Like, I love that man, dude. He's one of my favorite
Yeah.
artists ever. And that performance of the revival scene, that concert, is why, man. I mean, the acting is unreal.
Hmm.
You're never bored the entire time. The way he changes his voice and starts acting as that man he's telling the story about, and it's just so good, man. Like, just go watch it. I
Yeah.
don't even want to be objective about it. If I'm being
Link
honest,
in
like, just go
description.
watch
Yeah.
it. Yes,
Yeah.
literally go
Yeah.
watch it, dude. And
Sometimes that's the best way to put it. Yeah.
yeah, um, I, dude, he just his the voice is just so clean, man. I
Yeah.
know. I think up high could like lose a little of the clarity sometimes, but also like, dude, he's a bass singing like 700 high notes. Like,
Right.
I low key think that basses, the repertoire that's written for them, is they're expected to sing too many high notes. I think, honestly, that's another thing. The acting,
Hmm.
dude, the diction, you can understand
Hmm.
like every word the dude says. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Like, and I know I'm an English native speaker, but man, it's
Yeah.
I don't even need the captions on. It's
Yeah.
genuinely,
Yeah.
it's that clear.
If anything, it's even more of a commentary when somebody has good English diction, right? Because people are very used to singing in Italian. Um, like the bel canto sound doesn't always conform very well to English vowel sounds, English diction. So for somebody to have English that is understandable, fully understandable while they're singing operatically, is
Yeah,
that's not easy to achieve at all. So yeah, the diction is
yeah,
important.
dude. And it doesn't compromise anything. It doesn't compromise. I
Right.
mean, that has to be the the best bass high F sharp of all time. That he
Hell yeah.
sings in the
Hell yeah.
middle of that. I mean, that just thinking about him, like, how would he do that, man?
Yeah, F sharp for
Like,
a bass.
like a
That's up there.
high sustained F sharp for a bass. That had to be the loudest sounds. And then I don't want to spoil the end, dude. If you've seen that recording, you know the end. Like, you already
Hmm.
know what everything I want to say about it. I'm not going to spoil it. Please go watch that. I'm begging you to go watch that, man, because
Hell yeah.
that's my listen of the week. It is so good. Please go on with yours.
100%. Well, as usual, I had a difficult time picking between two listens of the week. So, and I'm just going to briefly discuss two things that I've been listening to
Okay.
nonstop since episode one.
Okay.
The first, actually, in a very adjunct, ancillary way, involves Samuel Raimi. So, um,
I'm already in.
through my left, yeah, exactly.
I'm already in, dude.
Through my lessons, as I continue to discover what my true vocal quality is here at the ripe old age of 23, I've started to listen to more and more bel canto rap, right? Bellini, Donizetti, that kind of stuff, because realistically, that's what I'll probably be singing this year and in the next few years. And one of the arias that I've been singing recently is Ate Okara from I Puritani, right? It's a beautiful opera, beautiful aria, really typifies that bel canto style, right? There's a particular recording, however, there are a million historic tenors that give unbelievable renditions of this aria, Fisichella included, especially for
Yes.
the C sharp, right? But this time I discovered an opera singer uh, called Chris Merritt. Probably he was not known to me until I discovered this recording of him. And it's of him singing this aria along with a number of absolute other banger arias at a concert that he gave in Modena, Pavarotti's hometown in Italy. And I just wanted, obviously the aria is amazing. Ate Okara is amazing. I'd say that I connect a little bit less with the bel canto rep, just because, the singing is beautiful. It's meant to exhibit the virtuosity of the voice. The text is beautiful, but it doesn't hit quite like some of the Verdi librettos and some of the Puccini librettos. But Chris Merritt's voice, particularly in this aria, man, it is just the perfect. It's the perfect testament to what a well-balanced technique looks like. The clarity and the darkness, right, are in such exemplary balance. Like he has a lighter voice, but he has a baritonal quality about his light voice. He has incredible focus, which is needed, right? It's a very high tessitura aria, Ate Okara. And it's so loud, it's so focused. It's just, it makes you reappreciate how difficult it is to sing well, right? To be able to sing as well as he can, it makes you think about that. And that's why I really enjoyed listening to Ate Okara by Chris Merritt. Please look him up. And the way that Sam Raimi is involved is obviously, once I discovered this video, I was like, holy shit, who is this guy? So obviously I've scoured every video relating to him on YouTube, and one of them is a rehearsal of the Verdi Requiem with Claudio Abbado, and the bass is Sam Raimi.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, there's like a cool little clip from that video where Sam Raimi comes in and starts singing his thing, and it's like, man, two amazing singers. Like, well, it's crazy that singers of that caliber get
Yeah,
together in a
dude.
room and make music, and not everybody knows about it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
crazy. So that's one, and then the other I can talk about a little bit more briefly. It gets to the acting thing that you were talking about in your listen of the week, and it is essentially the final scene of La Boheme, so, starting with Sono Andati, right? But more particularly, I just spent the last few weeks listening to different interpreters of the last 40 seconds of the opera, right?
Oh
You
man,
know,
you're deep
well,
in
I'm
that
gonna
one.
die because like that part of the opera, and because it's kind of it's different in that it's declamatory, right? There's no singing for a brief period of time in the finale, and that's where for singers, especially opera singers, you become exposed, right? Because you're not using your singing voice, which is your greatest tool. So I was just sort of analyzing the way different tenors interpret that final scene, and I have to say, just look up performances of Franco Corelli singing the last 40 seconds of the opera, because the way that he communicates the emotion it's so real. It's so real.
Mm,
Like it's like he does the best job at acting the way somebody would actually act if the love of their life died in front of them. You know what I'm saying? The
mm.
sobbing, like just the uh, inconsolable sobbing, and then to like, rip an insane series of A flats. Um, it's I was just in awe of his acting ability, his declamatory ability, and I mean the entire sequence. It just speaks to emotions that are at the precipice of the lived experience, right? It's what makes La Boheme as an opera so amazing, and it all sort of comes to a head in that final scene. So, highly recommend that you check that out. Highly recommend.
Dude, I actually gotta do exactly what you did and listen to back interpreters of that
Yeah,
section. One, for the reason you said. Two, I still get so upset at the end of La Boheme, man.
I know. It's
Dude,
like the
it
only
will.
opera that can make me cry. It makes me cry every time.
I
I
don't
can't.
know, man. It's just so devastating, dude. It's just
It's
like
so hard.
crushing.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
just
It's so true.
like I know what's gonna happen, man. Like I did Rent.
Exactly.
I've done I've performed in another version of that story, and
Yeah,
it's still
exactly.
so.
Yeah. It's
Um.
literally if there could have been one opera where the main female character doesn't die. I wish it was La Boheme, dude, because it's like, oh my god, as amazing as it is the way it is, like you wish for nothing more than them to get back together and everything's good
Yeah.
and they
Yeah,
restate their
dude.
love and live happily ever after. But oh yeah, was
Dude, I
obsessed with that for the last couple of weeks.
Ate Ogara is you talk about we're talking about beautiful singing, right? That's where it's originating from. It's that piece is such a I want to say a tour de force. I think that piece you have to be so good at singing
Yeah,
to do it. I
you gotta
think
really
I'll
have to
just
sing.
I won't try and make it any more complicated than that. I think it's a piece where you think it sounds simple. It's not the musically not difficult in
Right.
terms of musicianship. It's not a major bear. I just think it's you have to sound genuinely so beautiful and you have to do everything well vocally, interpreting, and simplicity is beautiful. And I think that's a direct
Yes.
example of that. That recording of what's his name, Chris
Chris Merritt.
Merritt, so
Mm-hmm.
good, man. And the clarity in his voice, I think that was it for me. The clarity and the
Yeah.
ah. Like I wish I could
Yeah.
steal that ah vowel,
Yeah.
man. Like
Same.
it's almost
Same.
like it's one of those things where you get mad. Like I get mad. Like I hear him sing,
Genuinely.
like he sings the like "Kara," and it's just the like best, most clear. Like not at all
Yeah.
like I just did it, but dude, I get mad. I'm like this guy. Like who's this guy
Yeah.
think he is?
It makes you want to go into your next voice lesson and be like, hey, teach, I want you to show me how to sing exactly like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to show me how to sing like this. And that's why
This
I
needs to
feel
be
like,
me.
yeah, exactly.
Me.
Exactly.
Me
Exactly.
now.
I won't be satisfied until that's me.
Okay, so YouTube, you're not gonna see before what just happened. But here's my cat. She's awake now. Look how cute she is. Aw.
She's vibing, bro, right next to the window. What a life.
Yes. Yeah, Ava got her that. Uh, she loves it because she likes to snuggle, but she
Mm,
doesn't want to be like crowded. It's
right.
perfect because she doesn't go on the couch. I think for the reason of there not being enough space. So that is right next to her couch, and she can be on it,
Right.
and she'll be right next to us, and she's not getting crowded.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's great.
I love it for her. Love it. But
Did you
anyway,
finish your point about? I don't even I blacked out. I don't even remember the last 2 minutes. I
in summary,
accidentally stopped recording. That that YouTube's not seeing happened.
Ginger, yeah, she did some things,
Yes, that
but
was not family friendly. Not family
essentially,
friendly.
I was just going to summarize by saying I presented two very different listens of the week. Presented three different listens of the week,
Yeah, that was a
each of which
range
have,
today.
yeah, that is a crazy range, low key. What makes opera beautiful is the ability to see the common threads between them, but also to appreciate them for their individual reasons, right? And it makes me think back to when I took like music history courses. And for anybody in the audience that um, plays an instrument other than the voice, or is gone to school for music, you kind of you've been exposed to the idea in your music history classes that opera is kind of the butt end, especially bel canto opera is the butt end of like musical intellectualism, musical aesthetic, right? Like it's of the lowest quality. And they point to things like you were talking about in bel canto rep, where it's you can't think of anything more simple than that. There are two chord changes. There are two chord changes in Ante Car, literally. Um, Melody is very simple. You can ornament it, but it's not really going to make it any more complex. But that's what makes the music great, is the ability to still feel something despite that simplicity. So just wanted to get that out there for all the history of Western music folks out there that maybe don't appreciate opera like we do. When you learn to sing, or when you try to learn to sing, you understand more the aesthetic value in singing a piece like Ante Okara will.
Yeah. It's yeah, singing's one of those things where when once you do it and you've tried it and you've done it, I still feel like that's my lived experience all the time. I'll have like some sort of breakthrough in singing, and then I'll listen to uh, Robert Merrill or something, and just be
Right.
I'm like, oh, it's a whole new level. I wasn't even thinking about that. He's been doing that the whole
Yes.
time.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's an especially poignant thing to hit on for me because I was a late bloomer to singing. I was a member of the group that I'm talking about. When I took music history, I was like, yeah, this music is not complex at all, and therefore it has no place in you know the annals of important of works that made an aesthetic contribution to classical music. But trust me, if you're out there thinking that thought, give singing a whirl, and you will understand why it is aesthetically important in its own way.
Did I tell you about the time I listened to Bartok's Bluebeard's Castle?
I feel like we may have discussed it. I feel like I have heard you and
Okay.
Bluebeard's Castle in the same sentence. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I just want to bring it up because it's gonna apply to what you just said. When I listened to that, it was the first time I had sat down, listened to an entire atonal opera piece, honestly, and only paid attention to it and took it in. And it made me listen to music in such a different way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I didn't have I'm very much a tonality, like that's kind of what I
Same.
listened for in terms of, and that's probably not that deep or individualistic of me to say that I like to listen to the chords and the melody, and but when you take out tonality, it made me focus on other aspects so much more.
Yeah.
I think when you listen to pieces from the bel canto era, it's like that, but it's not an absence of tonality, but because it's simple and
Mm-hmm.
digestible, you really got to focus on the singing. And
Right.
that's a reason why Ate Ogara you might not think is super hard except for the high note.
Yeah. Right.
That's just not the case because like you got to do you got to sing it so unbelievably well and interpret it. You've they're all the vocal things that everyone's going to be listening to, and it's going to be a big difference between me singing that and Pav singing that in terms of legato, in terms of vowel
Yeah.
clarity, or when he chooses to make things darker. I mean, it's a real singer's thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree.
Oh, and I'll just throw in, it was that production I saw at DVO. Context: DVO is an opera company in upstate New York. They always say upstate New York, even though it's anyway. That aside, it is, it's like my home opera, my home base, right? And it was the first operas I ever did there. I talked about last episode. That's where they were at, over in Lake Huntington now. It was so good. I think it was my favorite thing that I've seen Carol direct and put on that stage. I thought the production overall was just so, just so clean, man. Like, when you see something, you're like, that was so well rehearsed.
Yeah.
Man, I feel
Totally.
like it just had a clear plan and it hit every single point it meant to and just executed it really well. I thought the singing was really good. I thought the costumes, I thought the set, the way they did the set was there was it was like a back to back front of a building where it was the front of a church on this side, and then
Yeah.
on this side the front of Susanna and Sam's home. So
Okay.
when they switch from one scene to the other, they turn it
Yeah.
around.
Right.
It just did the job so well. And also the thing for Suzanne's home was made out of like whoever made that set piece was absolutely like cooking it up. That was so
Oh yeah.
good, man. It's on YouTube. You should all listen to that.
DVO
It was really
Suzanne.
good. Yes, yes. The DVO has a YouTube channel that they post on. I don't know if all of it's on there yet, but definitely Act One is.
Cool.
It was really
I'll
good.
definitely take a listen here.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was I was just really happy to go, and I saw, our buddy Robbie and Kelsey.
Oh yeah.
They were there, and Robbie was in it. So saw Kelsey. Kelsey she did a Chautauqua last summer, by the way.
Dang, I did not.
Like
Oh, actually, I did know that. I did know that.
like wow.
That
Um,
moving on up in the world. She got a great voice. Both of them have excellent voices.
all you good
Excellent
heart
voices.
singers, all you Tom good heart students.
Mm,
I met.
I'm telling you, yeah,
They
the
had
good
another
heart
one with
way,
them.
man.
I made the same joke.
Yeah,
I was like, "All you Tom Goodhart students, man, you're all too good, man."
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, he's got a tried and true method, um, and yeah, they're both amazing singers. I know many other Tom Goodhart singers that are amazing singers, And
I mean, so
not to go
Chalamet
on a
sings at the Met. He sang a role at the
to sh-
Met last year, dude.
exactly, exactly. I mean, his son is at AVA. Like this guy is just cranking out exceptional voices like they're a dime a dozen. And
Yeah.
not to go out on too long of a tangent about my former voice teacher, but I mean,
No, go, dude.
it's his
Just do it.
willingness.
Just go
I'm gonna
on.
do it because I love this
Just
guy.
do it.
It's the willingness with which he teaches anybody and the enthusiasm. It's the
Mm.
amount of genuine care and obsession with which Tom Goodhart teaches and how firmly affixed he is in his technical philosophy of the voice, which to me
Mm.
is pretty much an all encompassingly correct means of achieving an operatic sound healthfully. Um, he can sing just about anything. I mean, I've heard him sing Zoroaster. I've heard him like fool around with tenor stuff at 60. And I genuinely have never met somebody as passionate about passing on the, you know, this art form and the quality of this art form, like quite like Tom Goodhart. I mean, and his methods of teaching are very effective. He's intense. Don't get me wrong. He's a very intense guy. And if you're doing something wrong, he's going to let you know. That's exactly what's effective about it, And in terms of creating a technical foundation, he's not going to be like, until you have a very firm technical base, he's not going to be the type of teacher to say, well, that's for you to decide. He's like, the verticality of the instrument is what you need to be thinking about. Head needs to reflect chest, et cetera, et cetera. And that's so critical. It's critical for somebody to take a stance, and he does that. He does that. Everything I owe, everything that I have achieved as a singer, I owe to Tom Goodhart. He built my voice. He really built my voice.
Cool,
Um,
man.
yeah. So,
Dude, I
and if
gotta
you ever
meet
get a
this
chance,
guy.
you got to meet him. And if you're ever in Binghamton, dude, you got to go see the Binghamton Opera productions. I mean, for undergraduates to be singing at that level is a
Yeah.
testament to the type of vocal talent he's producing, dude. It's um, like there's I think he's a junior now, for a sophomore or junior baritone at Binghamton. Just he's singing better than people at like very very well known yaps, in my opinion, at the age of 20 years old. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I mean, maybe the greatest hidden gem in the opera pedagogy world is the University of Binghamton, dude. SUNY Binghamton. Like, who would have thought?
Yeah, I know. And the
Who would have
guy's,
thought that it's SUNY
he, you
Binghamton?
know, yeah, he's all the way up there, you know?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. He's just like preaching the gospel in the middle of like
The-
literal nowhere. you
Yeah,
know?
man.
But he's great. Look him up, audience. Look him up. And Evan, I really, 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 really hope that you get a chance to meet or maybe work with him one day
Dude,
because just
I wish,
he's awesome.
I wish I could have taken a lesson or two, man, before we left Ithaca, dude. That would have been so cool to work with him. But hey, you know what? Might happen. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, why not?
he, yeah, yeah. Who knows where who knows where the road will take us? But
You can't make fun of us. It's late, man. We had to start late today.
yeah,
You haven't been tired before? You haven't been tired before.
exactly. It's 10:02 Eastern. Give me a break. I woke up at 7 to start work. I'm cooked. My brain is cooked. So you have to give me a little leeway here. I think that covers pretty much what I was hoping to cover, Evan. But I don't know. Do you have any other topics that you'd like to discuss before we bid farewell to our faithful audience?
I do. I don't want to start talking about it. You know what it is. I don't want to start talking about it because it's going to be discussion.
That's fair.
Like,
Well,
and I don't want to start talking about it and have to cut it off because we don't want this to be like 2 hours long.
right. Is this? Oh no. Is this the DVO discussion or no?
No, no, I'm good with that. It's,
Oh, oh,
you mentioned it last episode. It's a YouTube channel.
oh shit, dude! I completely fucking forgot about that.
Maybe we talk about it a little bit.
Okay,
Maybe we
let's
talk about
do a
it.
little soiree. Yeah.
When Rocco was talking, he mentioned This Is Opera on the previous episode we did when we were talking about different channels that we like to watch. And he said it, and I was like, yeah. And then in the back of my head, I was like, dude, I've never watched a single one of those videos in my life. How have I? I've
Oh,
seen it in my recommended. I think the funny thing is like it's almost not full circle, it's 180, right? Because I remember seeing it and being, wow, this guy's so pretentious. How does he not think this current singer is good? How could he think that? And now, many years later,
I see his point. Yeah,
so
yeah,
I completely shut that out like years ago. So I think that's
yeah.
probably why I never, but now that I'm ready to hear it and that I, agree with the uh, opinions of some of the singers that probably get dogged on that channel, now I'm more prone to, now I'm just ready. Now I'm just ready.
Yeah, your ears are open.
It's yeah,
Yeah,
my ears are open to it. My ears were closed because I didn't agree with it at all, and like, how could you say that? How,
right,
we were
right.
talking last episode about pick and choose. You
Totally.
always got to go through these things, pick and choose. You don't just completely agree with what. I think that's where you get stuck if you only agree with one
Totally.
person,
Totally.
Yeah, it's Jover. It's Jover.
Yeah.
I like the channel. It's really funny. I get it's pretentious. If guys, like, that's what we're gonna be, like, let's just rip the band-aid off right now. That's what
Exactly. Yeah.
this channel is, just we're gonna be like that. That some the humor in some of those videos and the
Yeah.
comparison is actually like the funniest thing I've ever seen in my
It's so
life.
funny, dude. It's so
And
funny. Yeah.
it's so funny to the point where thinking about how nuanced it is and how much work I've had to put in my life going down this path to laugh this hard at this
Yeah.
nuanced humor really
Yeah.
makes me enter a headspace of like, what am I, how did I get
Yeah.
here?
Yeah. I know it. I know
Like,
it.
what's the one I sent you where it was like, mosquito cannot sing opera
Yes,
is the
dude.
title.
Yes.
Is that This Is Opera?
Yes, that is the
Dude.
opera video.
And it's
And
just
there's
playing
one that
him and then Melchior and then him and then
yes,
Melchior and calling
yes.
this grown professional singer a mosquito is just so messed up, but it's just like you gotta laugh at it, dude.
You got
You
it's
gotta
yeah,
laugh at it.
and I think I find myself laughing at a lot of the kind of humoristic elements of this is opera because there's some truth to it. Like it's hyperbolic, but the core of a lot of the comparisons that he makes on his channel are true. Right? It's like I think of one in particular that I reposted on my Instagram account where it's like Yusuf Ivyazov or whatever singing L'Improviso from Andrea Chenier, and it's like he juxtaposes one note that he sings next to like a horse neighing, and there's something uncannily funny about how similar they actually sound, and it's like I'm crying over here laughing at how funny it is. So like there is like genuine comedic value, and you know this is opera. It is definitely a controversial channel But it served as the base point for my understanding of good singing because I came in with the presupposition that the channel is built upon, which is you listen to opera and you're like, what's supposed to sound so great about this, right? Like Whitney Houston singing the national anthem is a lot more moving than, I don't know, Jonas Kaufman singing Celeste Aida. You know what I'm saying? The creator of This Is Opera really struck a chord with me when he made those comparisons, and he lays out very well the deficits that exist between modern singers and singers of the so-called golden era. I mean, the desire to go back to the way things were in the operatic soundscape that's a controversial thing. Like, a lot of people think that modern opera singers are the goats, and that when every opera singer that is on stage today has an incredible amount of talent and has worked extremely hard to get where they are. But to me, you can't help but notice the differences. And it's the way in which the creator of This Is Opera, so insistently displays and exhibits those differences. And like you said, explains them in a manner that is very digestible and concise. That's sort of what makes his channel appealing, despite the fact that he is a D1 hater. And, some of his takes on, like, singers that he considers to be bad, in my opinion, are genuinely bad takes. But the progression for me, dude, was completely opposite what it was for you. Whereas when I started listening to opera, I aligned myself almost entirely with his opinions. And it's only been over the course of, coming up with some of my own opinions about what opera should sound like that I'm like, not sure that he's got it right in this instance or that instance. But overall, This Is Opera, very important channel. And if you are interested in learning about the history of opera and just getting the names of some good singers under your belt,
Honestly,
really
yeah,
good
that's a
channel to
really
start.
good point, dude. I mean, it's singers from very long ago too. I'm
Yes,
talking like pre
yes,
1900, like he has Clara Butt on there. He's got Nelly
right,
Melba. He's got Tetrazzini.
right.
Um, but then he likes Robert Merrill. He's got
Yeah,
Cornell MacNeil on
right.
there. Um, Nilsson, Bridget
Yeah,
Nilsson.
yeah.
But
There's a
yeah,
very interesting video on Bergen Nielsen. Yeah, very interesting.
the teaching one was
Um,
so. Did you see the one
that's
about
the
her?
one.
That one,
That's
it
the one.
it's crazy. That's a whole nother thing that's really
Yeah.
surprising to me about the stuff on that channel. When you see these interviews, these recorded interviews of singers, these recorded master classes by singers who
Hmm.
are heralded singers,
Yeah.
and they're, the one of a what's the mezzo, but Barbieri. Bar-
Fedora.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
her talking about how she doesn't use chest voice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just that one
Yeah.
really sent my head spinning because that just opens up a whole thing of like, clearly these things were completely different meanings to her than it is to me. I mean, that at that point is, are we even speaking the same language?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Or Birgit Nilsson being like this unbelievable singer, ginormous
Yeah.
voice, and then teaching some suspect
Yeah. Right.
ways
Teaching
is
very
so
suspect
bizarre.
things.
It's
Yeah.
bizarre.
And it sort of goes to show, like, being a good singer is not a necessary condition for being a good vocal pedagogue. You know what I'm saying? And Birgit Nilsson literally taught things that she wasn't doing anatomically or physiologically. You know, that may have been her sensation and whatever. I mean, it's hard to hear. And the one from that video that really just grinds my gears more than any, I can't think of a moment that I've watched that has made me cringe harder and just made me so reviled is Juan Diego Flores
I
talking
was
about
hoping you were going to bring it up.
yeah, if the audience can't hear
Dude,
you, that's their problem. It's like
dude.
he should be arrested for saying that. Like, actually, our entire purpose is to be heard by the audience. That is our main problem. That is our main concern. And for you to say that it's their problem and that it's all about us, right? Like, it goes against the nature of servitude which opera is born out of, right?
Yeah, man.
No good singer does it for them. You know, like, I mean, obviously I get great joy out of singing. But the reason I get great joy
Wait,
out of
that's a
singing,
good point though. That's like very doing it for yourself.
yeah,
Like who's gonna hear like Celeste.
yeah, exactly.
Dude, no one's gonna hear that. They're not
Yeah, no
paying to
one's
hear
gonna
you
hear.
sing to yourself.
Right. If you don't want to worry about the audience, you don't care what your voice. If your voice is, you know, able to be picked up by the audience, learn to sing opera in your shower. Like, it's just such a frustrating take. It's it spits in the face of what composers wrote on the paper. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Dude,
just,
when I,
uh,
dude, the stuff he was saying in that masterclass, I was like, is this opposite day? Did they have this
yeah,
masterclass on opposite day? I mean, genuinely, I still haven't got over being mad from the first time I heard him say, like when I watched that video 3 days ago, I'm still mad from hearing him
yeah,
say, if they don't hear you, it's their problem. I mean,
right.
that's like, I still can't.
Yeah,
No,
and this is the
Rock.
problem.
I don't need to add to it because Rocco's saying everything I'm already thinking, and I'm just gonna spiral. I can't spiral.
Yeah, the major problem is that these are the singers that are making the most immediate impact on the next generation of singers by saying things like that, right?
Yeah,
It's not like they're giving these master classes from a position of great power and in settings where they're working with probably the next great singers, the singers that will be on stage in American opera houses in the next 10, 15 years. And this is the kind of stuff that they're being fed. It's going to perpetuate in the next generation of opera singers if people don't know how to identify the bullshit, right? And you can't identify the bullshit in a vacuum, in my opinion. I mean, maybe, maybe you can, but that's why a page like this is opera is so important because it helps people identify the BS. Or
yeah,
even if people resist it, it at least puts the kernel in their head that like, there's another way, and you don't have to take this guy's word as gospel. Like, um, so yeah, that's the part. Like, really, when you get into like the more meta kind of residual effects, is like operatic aesthetic, vocal aesthetic will not get better as long as these people continue to have an influence on young singers. And like, I don't know, I don't even want to think about that. Like that's sort of a major factor of what motivated me to become an opera singer. It's like I believe I have the talent to make a good vision of operatic vocal aesthetic come back to life. So to see the
I'm
kind of content
spiraling.
that goes
I'm spiraling, dude.
directly against my purpose, my individual purpose as an artist, it's so concerning. It's so concerning. It's like
And
I'll tell anybody who's willing to lend an ear. Like I live with three other dudes who know nothing about opera. They know that I don't like Peter Geld, and they sit and they watch This Is Opera with me. It's like literally anybody who is willing to listen, I will tell them. So the issue runs deep. I just fully spiraled, and Evan was the witness.
dude, I'm spiraling. I can't help it, man. Like, riddle me this, Batman. What instructions that you give to a singer are going to completely erase any individuality
Yeah,
and ownership of artistry? Sing less.
yeah,
If what did he say? He said, follow the orchestra.
yeah. Joyce DiDonato with the whole omnivowel bullshit. Renee Fleming as well with the like what are we doing? What are we doing? That's why every opera singer sounds like that.
The thing that I don't get about it is the omnivowel an issue because it's just the like physical position without any like core.
Right.
Is that it? Is that why that
To me, that's
happens?
it. To me, that's it. And to me, it's
So like that's
like
half of it. That's half of it. And it's like going to like dude, going back to what you were saying and what it's so crazy that he's saying if they can't hear you, that's their problem. We gotta tell the story. We're telling a story at the end of the day. So
yeah,
it's the fact that you think, oh, just do like don't even worry about a vowel. Don't worry
right,
about open, close. Don't worry about the word you're saying. Don't worry about being heard. No
yeah,
one's gonna get any story if you're just going the whole
right,
time. No one's gonna like that defeats the entire purpose.
right.
And
And you know what the worst?
how does that not
Yeah. And the worst thing is that they sort of propagate this belief by attacking singers' fears. Whether they're doing it on purpose or not, I don't know, probably not. But right, they'll say something like, "Oh, well, you have to." When you bring up a subject like, "Well, what about vowel clarity?" Oh, well, you can't sing with vowel clarity because you'll damage your voice, right? Like, and that to me is the biggest potential weak spot for a singer to be influenced, right? If you hear that something is going to damage your voice and you take that at face value, you're not going to do it, right? And it's like, so once I hear for myself, oh, trying to go for a clear vowel is bad because my larynx can't take it, I'm not going to do it. And or they'll say, oh, it's the maximum resonance, right? Like, which it is not. It's not. They'll make some sort of logical sequence that goes like, the goal of operatic singing is the most resonant sound possible. The position that creates the most resonant sound is this position. Therefore, everything you sing, the focus should be on that position. Don't worry about closing your mouth. Don't worry about moving your tongue. Don't worry about pronouncing like consonants. Just focus on the beyond position alone, and you are going to be the greatest singer anyone's ever heard. It's really such bullshit. It's such a load of crap, especially about the vocal injury. If anything, that omnivowel by blowing air through your
Yeah, I was
chords,
gonna
through
say,
loose
dude,
chords like that.
having no
Yeah,
passing air through your chords, like, yeah, that's not going to damage your voice. Singing airily,
yeah,
blasting breath
right,
unevenly
right,
through your vocal cords,
yeah.
that's the way to go.
It's horrible, dude. Oh my goodness. Do you guys see the crosses that we bear for you? The emotional crosses that we're tasked with bearing on your behalf. We have to feel all these things just so that you don't have to.
Not gonna lie, I'm a little scared that the people who watch this are gonna think I'm an angry person now.
They'll probably think
I
that of
feel
me,
like
and
I hope I didn't uh I hope I didn't go too far, you know. Well, I edit this,
yeah,
so if I if I I'll do a self test. That's what I'll do.
yeah,
If
exactly. And
I
here's
scare
again, yeah.
myself in the coming days from now, like if I have pause, then
Here's my guarantee to the audience, guys. I promise you, I don't wake up obsessively thinking about the state of operatic aesthetic in the development of young singers. I definitely don't
no,
spend all the time thinking and worrying about that. And I
no.
don't. You know. I'm a very happy person, and I'm yeah between the Yankees and opera development. Sometimes it's a weird emotional
Uh,
state to be in. And that kind of brings us full circle back to the Yankees, which we started off with.
hey everybody, sorry to interrupt here. Doubly sorry if I scared you for coming in so unexpectedly, but don't be alarmed. I'm Evan from the future, and I am here to tell you that while I was editing this video, I cut out quite a bit because Rocco and I were talking at this part in the video about a game that happened in August, which is not very relevant to now. But what is relevant is Rocco said something funny, and that funny thing he said was also very important because it ended up transitioning us into our next topic. So here you go. I actually still probably at this point in the season would rather be. I think I would still prefer listening to Juan Diego Flores say
Yeah,
all those
yeah,
unmentionable, unspeakable things than actually watch Clay Holmes have to close a 1-1 game
it's
in the
so true.
10th with the ghost runner on second.
It's so. I would genuinely rather listen to the Placido Domingo crack on the high C of D Quillatera, like on repeat, than
wait,
have to
wait, can you
subject
send
my
me that?
eyes. Yes,
Can you send me
absolutely.
that? Okay, you
It's
know what? No, I will. No, I'm just gonna say it.
okay.
I'm you know I'm this like shy, nice guy. I'm not really gonna press anyone too much. I'm not gonna really say any names when I'm thinking names. I'm not gonna say names when we're talking about these singers. But Placido should be in jail.
Yeah. Oh
So
my
he's
God,
getting
dude.
it. He's getting it, dude.
Yeah, for real. If
He's
there's
getting
anybody
it.
who deserves it,
Dude, talk
yeah.
dude, he is
It's kind of crazy
he's
that he's like
overrated.
number. He's horribly
Overrated.
overrated. He's he is not a good singer, in my opinion.
Like
Not a good.
forget all the I'm gonna sing Rigoletto now because I'm 80. Like forget that.
Right,
That doesn't count. That's fake.
right.
I'm talking like when I'm on the Met Opera on demand page
Yeah,
and I'm looking through all these I love to see the video. Obviously, old is gold is all we're gonna be screaming about on this channel. But
right.
I want to see the video. I like to see the productions, the acting.
Yeah,
That's important too, right?
yeah.
It. Why is he the freaking recorded
Yeah,
tenor
dude.
in like every like I
I
get so
know, dude.
excited and then it's like, oh,
It's like, ah,
Placido is singing the cowboy man in the
yeah,
Golden West woman one. He
yeah.
is Canio. He is like, dude,
He's the
stop.
poster child of the Met. He's the poster, and you know what? I'm gonna go down this route. It makes perfect sense because all of those recordings were at the time that James Levine was the conductor of the Met Orchestra. He's in a pod. You know what I'm saying? Pretty base take right there. But like, I have to agree with you, dude. I can't I can't subject myself to listening to Placido Domingo try and push out more and more B flats, dude. Like the voice is pushed, and it's not pushed in like
I
this
know what you mean.
classical sense of the term, right? It's not like he's spinto. He's just
Spinto,
pushing
okay.
because he has yeah,
Spin.
yeah,
I'll push, bro.
yeah.
Got it.
Look, I'm genuinely shocked that he's still singing today because
Must not be airy.
yeah, must. I mean, he
Like if it's
did not
still
have.
working, clearly it wasn't airy.
It wasn't. It was over adducted. It was over adducted. Um, it wasn't. It was like thick adduction as opposed to thin adduction, especially in the high
Yeah, and the
register.
top, dude, it's
Yeah,
like it doesn't like Girare. I hardly know her.
doesn't turn, and it doesn't turn like in a good way, where like Stefano's voice doesn't turn, and it sounds good because for me, I always think like Placido was trying to put it somewhere else, whereas Giuseppe Stefano, dude, he just opened his mouth as wide as possible and sang with fat vocal cords, and it kind of worked for him. Like because his voice. Do not try that at home, kids. Do not try that at home.
His Duke of Mantua was like the craziest
Yeah.
listen of my life, dude.
And it's like they really ran him out there singing Rodimus, like, and he did it like night in and night out. He sang Pilaf, bro, like every note, open, every single note. And I mean, he had a relatively long career, and he is one of the greatest voices of all time. The voice that Pavarotti admired the most, by the way. Um,
The what?
the voice that Luciano Pavarotti most admired. Um,
Really?
yeah,
I
there's
thought it was Tucker. It was Di Stefano, really?
this step. Yes, he talks about his dad was also an operatic tenor, which
Right.
oh my god, that's the life. Um, but like he talks in an interview about how his dad and him used to disagree over who was the better tenor, Gigli or Di Stefano. Which I'm going to have to side
Or
with
Di Stefano.
Mr. Pavarotti on this account. I think Beniamino Gigli has top five tenor voices of all time.
Yeah.
Um, but he was like Gigli, or not Gigli. Di Stefano excited me in a way that no one else could, and it's because he's saying open. Like, and
Dude,
that is, yeah,
he just went for it, man. He swung a heavy bat, dude.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
going from listening to Kraus, who's one of my
Yeah,
I love Kraus.
he's a great tenor.
Going
Yeah,
from hearing Kraus sing the Duke of Mantua to Di Stefano singing
yeah,
that dude, that guy's swinging for the seats, man. I
exactly.
love
He
it
gives
so,
zero fucks.
dude.
Yeah,
He's
like,
like,
yeah, and
that's what you need. That though is an
yeah,
opera singer, man. It's bet you can't hesitate like that. That's like the
exactly.
worst
Yeah,
thing you could even do.
yeah, it's really true. And he had the utmost confidence. He didn't have much vocal training, which just goes to show that you don't always need a teacher. You can learn how to chart your own course. I mean, he probably succeeded against all odds. I'll admit that, but um, it also goes to show that the modern way of teaching voice could never produce a voice like Giuseppe Di Stefano because it's about squashing weakness, squashing uniqueness. So, um, anyway, I don't want to get back on that path. I was excited talking about GD there for a second and Di Stefano.
Yeah, no more of that master class video for me tonight.
No, I can't subject myself to that. It'd be considered a form of self harm. Like, yeah, no doing that.
There was another video that I think I sent the link to you where the guy he kept showing the like Microsoft emojis from like 2000s that are really
Yeah,
big. Like, you know
Yes,
the video I'm
dude.
talking about, and it's playing
I
the
know
like
exactly what you're
clip of
talking
the
about.
baby laughing after
Yes,
someone singing. I'm
yes,
like,
dude.
I'm like, this guy really put this video out there. He like edited this all together and put
Yeah,
this out there.
exactly. And he did it for like so many low key, like lengthy videos. You know, like bro must have had a lot of time on his hands because he made like a collection of videos the size of
Yeah,
the Library of Congress. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of
yeah.
content on that channel.
I know. It's like the whole. It's like the Michael Trimble thing. Like once he retired, and didn't have like wasn't singing professionally and just doing the small voice studio. He's like, hey man, I got a lot of free time, but I still
Yeah,
love this stuff and I want to talk about it. And
retirement
that's
goals, bro. Yeah,
yes, seriously. Ava always
yeah.
jokes. She's like always afraid of like me becoming Michael Trimble.
Oh, that would be so base, dude. If you became
I,
Michael Trimble,
dude,
like,
I'd be happy. I don't know if she'd. I don't know if she'd be able to live in the same house as me anymore if I went to that level of like to his
because he's
energy
like,
level, like
yes,
dude's like 87 now.
yeah,
And
yeah, he's
the
still
fact that he's got
cranking out
more,
content,
I
dude.
know, he's got more energy than me and he's like almost 4 times my age.
Genuine, and that's what you love to see about Michael Trimble, though. Is like, this is what gets him out of bed in the morning. This is what, this is genuinely what makes him come as a human being, and it's like those are the people. Those are the people that you expose yourself to as a young singer, right? Um, and Michael Till is great, dude. It's crazy. Like for a period of time, he was cranking out like a half-hour video every single day, like it was nothing.
Yeah,
Like, it was nothing.
I've spent so I he's the one I've watched the most out of all these like YouTube opera content people, and it's crazy still how much more I have to go through. And I've spent a lot of
Yeah,
time listening to that
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah, man. There's a lot out there, but better a wealth of information, bro. She is listening so intently right now.
she's like, "Can you
She is
shut
locked
up?"
in.
She's like, "You woke me up. You woke me up from a nap."
She's like, bro, it's 10:53. Don't you have anything better to be thinking about? The answer is no, Ginger. We
No,
don't.
the answer is no. Well, folks,
Thanks for joining us on episode 2 of
yes,
Podliacci. Like I said in the
yes.
beginning of the video, if you've made it this far, you're a real one, number one. You're so real for that. Number
You are
two,
real. You are real. If you this is gonna be like
I'm,
an hour and a half.
yeah, exactly. So, given that, I'm going to assume that you like our content, at least a little bit. And so you don't want to fall out of the loop with our content, which is why I'm going to
Mm-mm.
highly recommend you hit us with a like, a subscription if you haven't already. I need you to click the icon bell until your mouse breaks, and then the bell icon, I should say.
Yes, ring that bell.
Ring the bell.
Ring that bell.
And finally, listen, we are trying to cultivate a community with our listeners here. Okay? We want you to get in on the
Yes.
dialogue. We really want you to
Yes.
get in on the dialogue and what you're thinking, where you agree with us, where you disagree with us, new perspectives, agreeing with our perspectives, whatever,
Yes.
talking to us about the Yankees, whatever it is,
I do.
please leave a comment. And we will definitely be doing our best to implement your comments in the material of our next videos. And we'll be in there replying to the comments as well. So engage with us. We're begging
Please.
you.
No, we're gonna do next episode. I promise. Next episode we'll do questions. Leave a
Yes.
question. Listen, there's you can comment right below. Leave a question
Okay.
right there. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. But if you don't want to throw yourself out there, on the Instagram, we're gonna do one of those, like the links. I'll put the link there. Then you can be anonymous. You don't
Exactly.
have to be, if your heart's fluttering a little bit. The other thing I wanted to say, when this episode launches, we will we will have a Spotify account.
Oh, let's go. Audience,
So
you're hearing this at the same time.
those of you who have been telling me I don't have YouTube uh, Premium, I don't have Primo YouTube. It makes me listen.
Yeah.
It makes me
Who the hell
watch
has that? Yeah.
Logan Paul Prime ads in the middle of you talking about why Juan
Yeah.
Diego Flores is making you crash out.
Yeah.
I
Nobody wants that.
Yeah, no, you just want to see Evan spiral into the ground.
Yes.
So, for those of you that don't have that, I'm gonna get us a Spotify account. Then you can listen on the road. You don't have to have your YouTube open. You can just listen
Huge.
on your Spotify, which there ads on that, but I bet more people. Yeah, there's no way there are more YouTube Premium buyers
And
than
it's
Spotify.
also like,
There's no
yeah,
shot.
like
There's no
no
shot.
chance, dude. And the real benefit is, guess what? If you're in the car listening to us or if you're on a walk, you don't have to have your YouTube app open and your phone on, draining battery while you listen to us banter about opera, you know?
Mm-mm.
So the Spotify is huge. That's big
Yes.
ups. Collab with Joe Rogan coming soon. And at this
Have
point,
to explain to Joe Rogan the decline of opera.
at this point, we're getting very close to being able to say you can find us wherever you get wherever you get your podcast. You know, once
Yes.
we get the Apple
Yes.
Music and SoundCloud rings of the
Yes.
Thanos hand, we'll be able to say
Yes.
that. So, thank you for joining us.
Yes,
We
thank
will be
you.
back with another
We will.
upload,
We will.
probably in the next 2 weeks. We're going to come
Yes.
up with a good cadence for these episode releases. And keep singing, keep studying, keep listening.
Yes.
AEOU for life.
Yes.
And just don't listen to Juan Diego Flores or Joyce DiDonato, and you're going to be
Do not
50%
listen
of
to
the
their
way to
master
becoming a great opera
classes.
singer.
Do not. Do not. It's important that we hear you. That's
Yes.
important.
That is important. That is the most important thing. And check out links in the description to our Listens of the Week and to our socials.
Yes.
Okay? Adio.
Bye. Yeah.